everybody. Oh, this is so exciting. Welcome to the 12 Days of Divine Inspiration. I am here. This is so crazy. I mean, this is the beauty of technology. I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario, freezing my buns off. And Lindsay is coming to us from, is it Nosara, Costa Rica?
Nosara, Costa Rica.
Nosara, Costa Rica. Hello, sister. How are you? You look beautiful as usual.
Thank you. I'm amazing. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited that you're here with me. It's incredible. And I love that you can be here with me.
I know. It's so amazing.
Magic. It's just magic. My computer just connects to your computer. It's magic.
Total magic.
Total magic. So for those of you who do not know who I am and who this beautiful woman is here with me today, my name is Marlo Alice. I'm a coach of divine feminine leaders. I am also a transformational facilitator and a speaker, and I am here today with Lindsay Sukornyk, and I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm actually going to look at my notes. So she is a unicorn trainer, which we're going to talk about because I absolutely love that. Transformational leadership expert, absolutely wanderluster, and she's also a Huffington Post regular blogger, and that's something that I didn't put in your in the copy earlier when I was sharing our live interview. So I want to make sure that people know that you're this incredible writer that's, you know, sought after, and you have amazing ideas, and there's your resume is long, and your bio, I was reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you've done so many things. So it's just so great to have you here. And I know that I have experienced Lindsay live when we met originally at the Laurie Harder's Bliss Project a few years ago. I think it's like maybe 2015 was my first one, and you were leading yoga, and you had this incredible playlist. I was like, this is my kind of yoga instructor. She's actually like jamming out to great tunes. And so ever since then, I've just been such a huge fan, and I honor and respect everything that you're doing in this world. You really are a game changer, and you're changing how people lead and how people live. So I want to dive right in, Linz, and talk about what it is that you're doing. I know that you're on fire right now with the Path of the Unicorn. We're going to get to that in a minute, because there are people out there who have no idea what that even means. So can you just share with us, first of all, why, like, what inspired you to move your entire family to Costa Rica? Like, I think that in itself is a full conversation.
It is. It's a beautiful, long story. So I'll give you the short story. The very short story is I listened to my soul. We're going to talk about that, I'm sure, a lot today. But I used to live a very separated life. I was living in downtown Toronto, really driving in that masculine energy of building my career, raising a family, go, 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 do. But I'm also from the North. That's one of the many ways that you and I connect. And yes. So I always knew the importance of retreating back into nature, into spaciousness, into family. Unity. So I was blessed to have that imprinting as a child. So I started my career in an insane way in management consulting, quickly segued into coaching. And from the very beginning of my transformational leadership coaching work, I made it a priority to be in control of my time, in control of where I could work from. And so I always spent 2 months a year at the cottage in Northern Ontario near Sault Ste. Marie. Shout out to the Northern girls.
Yes, hello.
And always loved to travel as well. So I started doing 2 weeks a year down in Costa Rica. And then I was on my maternity leave for my third baby. I had awakening, this epiphany, and it happened out in Shavasana on my last day, on my last yoga class. I had been here for a month. I was down here with 3 babies. Chris was working like a madman in the startup world. And I was here with my mom for a month, and Chris popped in when he could, and my dad came. But I had this knowing, and I think that's a really critical thing to share with people. Absolutely. I call it the whispers of the soul, and I had the whispers for years and years, but I'm very stubborn, which is a good thing sometimes, and other times it can be a curse. But I ignored until all of a sudden I found myself bawling my eyes out at the end of a yoga class. And I just had this knowing that I would never not spend a significant amount of time in this specific place. And my soul is alive here. This place is magical. I got to get you down here one of these days. And I just knew, and I didn't know how, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I knew the what. I was like, I got to be down here. It made no sense at the time. My career, Chris's career, tons of kids, none of it made sense. It was not a logical thing to think. but my soul was screaming at me and I could not deny it. So what I did was I just planted a seed, and this is what I do. It's like, I think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. And it was like, I got this giant piece of the puzzle, which was called Masara, and it was in this place. And then I had no idea how I was going to get there. But that was 8 years ago, because my 8-year-old now was a baby. And from then on, I just started collecting more and more pieces of the puzzle, more and more clues about what I didn't want, what I did want, and figuring out the how, really one day at a time and one step at a time. And I think that's so critical, because we feel like we need to sometimes figure it all out and know all the answers. And we're going to talk more, I know, about the path of the unicorn, but my greatest work, and I think this, a lot of people can relate to this, I'm really good at the doing. I'm a driver. I'm a grinder. I can get stuff done like nobody's business. Yeah. The hard part for me is actually the more feminine divine side of it, which is the listening, the waiting, the patience, the receiving. And so I needed to let it reveal and unfold. The path needed to reveal to me, because timing was a factor. There were pieces of the puzzle that I didn't know yet. Career pieces, relationship pieces, family pieces, et cetera, et cetera. And so in hindsight, what I did was I listened to the whispers, the screams of my soul, but I also surrendered into patience, into trusting is another big, big word for me that I feel like I need to like control everything and make it happen.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like,
yes.
Stuff done. But what I've learned is that if you want to really go to the next level of life, of leadership, it really becomes an integration of the doing with the magic of the receiving. The universe, or spirit, nature, Gaia, it doesn't matter what you want to call it, but there are forces at play that are far greater than what our human minds can even imagine or anticipate. And so my whole entire focus now is about using my own life as a social experiment, as I do, where I'm both the subject and the observer. Right. It's how do we teach people, myself included, how to tap into the collective wisdom, intuition, calling, and purpose that is far greater than what we could have even imagined. So I had callings like moving to Costa Rica, like teaching to large audiences like Bliss Project. And when those invitations first came to me, I actually declined. I rejected in my brain. I thought, well, I can't do that. That's not possible. That's not what I do. That's not my thing. And so it's really, I've really lately come really deeply into the knowing that we all have a calling, and we all get whispers of our souls, and we all get hunches and sometimes screams that can come in the form of breakdowns, breakthroughs, elation, whatever. But that crucible moment, that turning point moment, is whether or not you answer the call. I think so many people, we get nervous, we try to talk ourselves out of it, and we reject the call. Oh my gosh. That doesn't mean that the call won't come back again, but it may not come back again. It depends if it's an opportunity that is truly once in a lifetime, or in my case with living in Costa Rica, that call would not go away. So the bang just kept coming louder and louder and louder. So it's, to me, the refinement and the work, and that's where we get into that feminine divine, is the listening and the listening. Like, what's being called of me? So here's the difference. When I started my career, and specifically in consulting, business, and then into coaching, it was very much goal-oriented. What am I going to create? What am I going to push onto the world? What am I going to manifest and do? And now the question I ask is, what's being called of me? What's being asked of me? And how can I be of service? And it's down to a minute-to-minute inquiry, where it's literally, I bump into somebody in line at a juice bar, and I'm like, Spirit, universe, my intuition is like, talk to this person. I'm like, I don't really have time to talk to this person, but okay. Yes. And I'm chatting. And then inevitably, they'll say,
there's something.
Oh, well, I'm an author and I have an agent I would just love to introduce you to, or they just have a beautiful thing they're talking through, and I happen to be the perfect person to be there for them at that moment. Right. So this unicorn, the path of the unicorn, is really what you said earlier. It's really about tapping into the magic. It really is. So that what our individual understanding on our own.
Right. So I'm sitting here smiling through this entire thing because I have recently experienced this. So my Tulum is your Costa Rica. And of course, every year I want to get to Alive and Awake, but we run retreats at exactly the same time. And I'm in Tulum, but I understand exactly what you're saying, Lindsay, about it goes from a whisper to a scream. And there was a time in my life, and I'm sure that a lot of people here on this Facebook Live right now are resonating with this, that we try to control everything. And the things that are super scary and the things that seem impossible, you just turn them away and you think, there's no way that this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. There's really no way that I'm supposed to be moving my entire family, 4 kids and a husband, and, end the careers and start new to Costa Rica. Right. Yes. But then if it's keeping you up at night and if it's constantly knocking on your door, then you need to pay attention. And that's when we have to relinquish the control and we have to start listening to what you talk about, which is the kind of like the divine feminine, like really listening and really tuning in and honoring that voice and not constantly shutting it down. And I did that for so many years. And now that I've made the decision to actually go to Tulum for more than just a visit, I'm going to go for a few months in January. I thought to myself, you know what? That was not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. Did you feel that once you made the decision?
Yes.
It was once you extracted the fear out of it and just thought, I need to stop being so worried about the what ifs and just focus on all the incredibleness that's on the other side of this, then it's the easiest decision. I mean, it's simple. I don't know about easy. That might be, but it's a simple decision to make because you know that it's honoring your truth and it's only going to grow you in incredible ways.
Absolutely. I've actually experienced, and I'm sure you have and will continue to, that some of my mantras, I use a lot of mantras, and the one of them is less thinking, more doing. Amen. So the worry piece, like stop thinking about it and make a phone call. For example, education was a big deal for us. We have 4 kids. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do with 4 kids in the middle of the jungle? I value education. I value academics. And I was really worried about it. And I thought about it for about 4 years. I
had lots of time to think about it. Yeah.
I researched it and I thought about it and I homeschooled them a bit and I did all this other stuff. And then ultimately I leapt. I took a leap of faith. And that's the doing part. Less thinking, more doing. Amen. And this is where the trust comes in. I thought, you know what? I trust that I can figure this out. I'm super smart. I'm super brilliant and really connected. Yeah. I'll figure it out. Or worst case, home. Like if it really is a disaster. So we got down here. This is 2 years ago in April. And I was standing, I had my kids registered for a surf kids camp. I thought I'd figure get immersed in the culture. And on the very first day, our good friend Pau said to me, I have this amazing friend. She's just sold her international school in Tamarindo and she's looking to tutor for families. Do you know any families whose kids need tutoring?
Let me think for 1 millisecond. Right.
And it was just such a beautiful reminder that you need to take the step often before you know where you're going to land. Exactly. And trust. It's like you're leaping off the edge of a cliff. And I don't actually think you have to get rid of the fear. I think you have to do it with the fear.
Right, with your fear. But the fear is no longer, I guess, extracting fear from the driver's seat is really what I mean to say.
Like control you. And the worry is really, for me, it's the rumination. Fear to be there no matter what. And I can my practices, my breath work, my yoga, my physicality, my nature to manage around that. But for me, the trap is the rumination in my brain of the worry and the over and over. And that's why I say like less thinking, more pick up the phone and call someone, do some research, just go there and show up.
Right.
Or not, you know?
And I believe, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, just based on what you're saying, that when it's that strong of a calling, then everything, if you work against it, that's when you're going to have the challenges. If you just fall into it and say, clearly this is supposed to be happening and I'm going to have faith and I'm going to trust that this is the right thing. Just like, the woman who said, do you know anybody who needs tutoring? Because that's how the world works, law of attraction or whatever you want to call it. When we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, and I 100%, I'm with you on the whole piece of we all have a gift that needs to be shared. We all have a calling. If we open ourselves up to the calling, all the right things are going to come to make that calling possible for us. But if we're constantly resisting it, then that's why people deal with stress and anger and, because there's just all of these things that you're trying to work against. Yes. And I find that when I step into my calling, that I am so much more at ease with the things that come to me, whether they are challenging or not, because I'm so focused on, well, it doesn't really matter. If this challenge comes, that's okay, because I'm going to have to deal with it because my why isn't changing. Totally. So that I don't have to worry about my why. I already know that. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It absolutely does. And I think that also I like to play a game of going down the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. Go there. I'm like, okay, what is the worst thing that can happen? I don't leave it as this what if blurry thing over here. I dive so deeply into that. And Chris and I actually, when we came back from traveling, when we were transitioning, when I was going into coaching and he was going into startups, we put a lot of risk. I pulled myself from the corporate world and went out on my own in coaching, which was the wild years ago. It was very kind of out there and different. Yeah. We had a bin we packed, and we called it the Plan B bin. And it had our scuba diving equipment, some hammocks, a little first aid kit.
Oh, I love it.
We were like, what's the worst thing that can happen? We'll pack it all in. We'll sell our everything. And we'll go live and open a little internet cafe. And we were like, hey, that's our worst case scenario. And we're comfortable with that. So if all our businesses fail, if we're a total disaster in this new thing that we're going to try, we're comfortable with the worst case scenario. Right. And I've used that practice a lot. And specifically with the move down here, the other thing is like, what's the cost of not taking that risk? So when I was Toronto and I was observing the evidence of my kids were not thriving in that environment in the way that they could, because I had contrasting experiences in Northern Ontario and down here where I believe for our kids, nature is essential, space is essential, time with them, quality, movement, physicality. I could go on and on and on about. Right.
And I want to get into that deeper. Yes.
All humans, but specifically kids. And I could see the contrast of the cost of not taking the leap. And they were not thriving in their academic settings, they were all doing fine, nothing drastic, but I could see the difference. And so that's again,
not thriving.
Like, what's the cost of not taking the leap? What's the cost of not following? And when that cost starts to outweigh the fear or the worry about the leap, then that's a telltale sign that something's better than this. Something's going to be, try anything different, because this is definitely not working. So ideally you can get there before you get to the point of this is a disaster. But that's another way to look at it, is like, what's the cost of not taking that risk?
Well, exactly. And the other day I heard this awesome quote. I was interviewing somebody and they said to me, and it just blew my mind. They said, say yes in the face of non-agreement. And I was like, oh man, I love that, because it's not, and you and I both know, it's not just about our own fears. It's also all of the feedback that we get, from our loved ones and from people who are close to us, and and then it's our own non-agreement as well. No, that can't be, and so just saying yes to the non-agreement, if you are super clear and if your soul is calling you in, then you just say yes no matter what, as long as your intuition is in alignment. I feel like that's such a huge piece of it. And I want to talk about your children for a minute, because I know that this is unconventional. And one of the things I wanted to do in the 12 Days of Divine Inspiration is highlight people who live unconventional lives and let people see that it can be done. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, there's risk. Yeah, you might lose your retirement, whatever. But here's the thing. There's so much more to life than what you might get in 20 years, because what are you getting right now? What's the price that you're paying for that? And you pulled your kids out of a very, like Ontario school system, or whether they were in a private school or what, I don't know. But you took them, like you said, from doing well or doing good to a place where they're thriving. So can you talk about how, your decision is not only modeling, which is incredible, something that your kids are seeing, but also their experiences, like the experiential learning and the kind of humans that they're becoming. Because I love watching your children. They're just like these little Buddhas that walk around. I'm like,
how much time do we have to talk about my children?
Right, I know. That's a whole other interview. Hashtag awesome kid.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for your words. And I feel like I joke with my kids sometimes. I'm like, thanks, I know. It's like, I feel that way. I'm like, thank you, I know they are amazing. And I feel so proud of them and grateful. So the truth of my children, and I offer this to every human on the planet, is that they are my teachers. And so I actually do very little in the way of parenting other than clear everybody else out of their way. I believe that our children choose us for a reason to be their parents. And we all choose our parents. We all choose our families to learn whatever lessons, to fulfill whatever calling or purpose we're meant to in this time. And so I tried when my firstborn was young to kind of be the parent and like direct and control and sort of do this kind of parenting. And she is a firecracker. And she showed me by the age of 2.
Yeah.
What a big surprise.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
I got 3 more firecrackers, and I got these like powerhouse, super strong, super bright, creative, kind kids who have their, I'm not going to like tell you, like if I had a hidden camera here, you'd see some stuff go down. It's not all like unicorns and roses all the time.
Right, no, for sure.
There's fire, there's tension, there's fighting, there's all of the stuff that happens.
Normal life stuff.
Yeah, but at the core of it, I believe that they're perfect as they are.
Right.
And not only that, I believe they're here to teach me what I'm meant to learn.
Love that.
So there is a polarity. Definitely, I don't let them run across the street if a car is going to hit them. Like, obviously, there are consequences. But I follow the Adlerian parenting model from Allison Schaefer is one of my main inspirations for parenting. And it's really about, it's no different than coaching. It aligns perfectly with the coaching, with the unicorn leadership. It's like ask, don't tell. So what do you think you should do? What do you think the right answer is? Mommy, can I have another cookie? Ask your body, what's your body telling you right now? And training them to think for themselves. So in the way of moving down here, I actually had my kids were the ones who actually were the catalyst for a month. And then we went back to one of the top public schools, but we were in one of the top school districts, probably in the country, definitely in Toronto.
Right.
And they would go there, and their energy, I would just watch them. They would shrivel up. Mommy, I don't want to go to school. I don't like this. They're academically were okay, but not thriving. And they would say to me, Mommy, I just want to move to Costa Rica. Mommy, I just want to move to Costa Rica.
I said that, but it didn't work.
I know. And I thought, okay, that's interesting.
Wait a minute.
In my head, I'm thinking it's not possible. But again, I from the mouths of babes, I'm like, what is it about this 6-year-old telling me that she just wants to go back to Costa Rica? I'm like, listen. Our kids, look at the way kids live. They're wide open with their emotional expression. They laugh, they cry, they fight when they're mad, they play when they forgive, they get over things, they play. Stop. When it comes to health and wellness, if you let kids be kids, they never stop moving. They're always going and going and going. And when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to everything, if you give them even a tiny little bit of information, they are off and running, and they come home to me now and inform me about what's healthy and mindfulness and all this stuff because they're learning it at school. So as far as parenting and the influence I'm having on my kids, I think it's exactly the opposite. It's how can I be humble enough and open enough to allow them.
Oh, I love that.
And I believe that all the kids, I was about to sound like Michael Jackson right now, but like the children are our teachers.
Michael Jackson. Right. Yeah.
Michael Jackson. But that's, I think, and that's a really radical view of parenting. I think a lot of people think that we need to like instill our values and make sure that they're in line for Harvard by the time they're 6 and elite sports by the time they're 7. And I was in that world in North Toronto. It's like about as competitive and as intense as you can find, maybe short of New York and London or whatever. But I was there, and I can see what happens in those trajectories, and there are huge rates of anxiety, of depression in like young kids, in teenage kids, and the parents. I've been coaching these elite parents for 15 years, and so you have to be really careful about what game you're trying to win. And I had the privilege of being invited into the most intimate spaces with these elite leaders, with elite kids for my entire career, even before I had kids. And again, coming from the North and having these other perspectives, I thought long and hard about what does success look like to me? What does success look like for my children? And I had experiences in my own life. I've had multiple really powerful crucible moments where I've won the game. I got the job. I got the money. We got the house. We got the thing that we thought we wanted, only to find out that we still didn't feel happy. And so I believe success now in every day, and a happy life. I heard this the other day. A happy life is just made up of many, many, many happy moments. So it's not, I'm going to be happy when I get to Costa Rica, or I'm going to be happy when I get the car, or I'm going to be happy when I get the partner or the kids or the job or it's none of that. It's backwards. It's like, how can I be happy now in this moment? It can be as simple as turning a song you like and dancing your face off in your car.
Right.
And then that minute after smiling at someone in line for coffee, waving at someone in traffic, you go ahead, getting to work and, telling somebody you like their sweater they have on today. Happy moment, happy moment, happy moment, happy moment. And then guess what? Guess who wants to hang out with you? Guess who wants to do business with you? Guess what partner you're attracted because you're so full of joy. Guess, every single thing comes from getting into that highest vibrational state of joy. And then all the external stuff, it's a backwards equation. Success is finding the bliss, the feelings that you think you're going to have eventually in every single moment. And then draw the external things to you. But at that point, the good news and the secret is you don't even care anymore.
Right.
Like, great to have a car, but I'm happy walking. Or, well, it's great to have a partner. I was also super happy by myself. Or it was great to be super abundant financially, but I was also happy when, I had 2 feet and a heartbeat to get around town because I was struggling.
Oh, I love that. That's super cute. Well, it's Danielle Laporte that says, I have the quote over on my board. It says, joy is the most magnetic force in the universe. And I love that because, and you said something about Costa Rica that really resonated with me about Tulum, is that it fills my soul. There's something about when I plant my feet, like when I get off the plane and I take the taxi to the beach and I take my flip-flops off and I stand on the beach in Tulum, everything is heightened. Everything is heightened. My awareness, my happiness, my peace, and so it fills up my soul. And I know that when I'm there, I can pull in amazing things into my own life. And it's how I feel. And when we get into spaces kind of like your corporate America, right? Or corporate Canada, where you're literally like, you have all the things, but completely empty. It doesn't matter how many. I was reading your website today and you were saying, I had the purses and the lattes and I was still, you were buying all the stuff, but it felt empty. Like, I don't know if that's exactly what you said, but that was the point, was that there was so much missing. And so when we actually just focus on joy and the moment to moment, right? What's going to take me out of maybe the moment I'm in and put me in a better moment? It's just like a 1 degree shift, right? As Lori always says, shift again and then shift again and then shift again. And I've used that a lot in my own life, just the constant shifting, all of the decisions. And so I love that you, with your children, for example, you noticed that they weren't thriving. And so you shifted. And that shift is like a life-altering shift, not only for you, but for these little humans that are going to be our future leaders. I mean, I think that's massively important, that we need to make sure that we're giving kids the opportunity now to exercise their will and their intuition and all of the things that they're going to need when they're adults. And so I think that and I want to ask you the name of it, Allison Schaefer. I love, what is it, a book? I want to just put it out for people to.
She's a Canadian parenting expert, and she is pure genius. I cannot give her enough credit.
Where can they find her?
She wrote a book, AllisonSchaefer.com, and her name is spelled slightly differently, so we'll have to maybe check it after and put it in the note. I think it's 1 L on Allison, and Schaefer is spelled slightly differently. But if you Google it, you'll find she wrote a book called Honey, I Wrecked the Kids.
Oh, I've heard of that. Right. Okay.
And she's just the one I happen to gravitate towards. I'm sure there are many other amazing parenting experts, but yeah, it's really, and the things that you hit on that I want to underline and underscore is, so this is what I mean. Kids are born perfect. We are all born, we're all perfect exactly as we are. Let's just say that.
Right.
But like listening to your intuition, your inner knowing, oh, thank you. Suzanne just Googled it for us.
Thank you, Suzanne. Sorry, I can't see the comments here, you guys. Sorry about that. Oh, there it is. Okay, Allison Schaefer. I'm going to show that.
Commenting.
I know. I want to get to, we're going to definitely answer questions or comments.
So that's the intuition, the inner knowing. So again, I've had the privilege before I had kids of doing a lot of intense, deep work with elite leaders, and myself included, which I won the game. I did so well in school. I got the job. Right. But then I got out of my own business, and I realized I won the game, and I was like, I am miserable. Like, if this is my life, right? Like 100 years, I think that's like a horrible. And I call that segment of my life and of the population the Walking Dead. It's like you're zombie. You're just going through the motions. You don't really know why you're doing what you're doing. You're just playing the game, following the rules, no particular passion.
Exhausted, sick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to actually relearn. Somebody would say to me, like, well, what do you love? What are you passionate about? And I would like stare back with this blank face, like, what?
That word doesn't come into your language when you're doing that corporate stuff, right?
What do you want to do? What are you passionate about? And I'm like, well, what do you mean what I want to do? I just did, I got the job. I thought I was dead, and then you just do what I'm supposed to do. There's no question. I didn't even ask myself, what do I want? And whereas kids already, I mean, the exaggeration is the 2-year-old, I want this, I want that. So if you can honor it,
right,
and allow that to continue, you don't have to undo the kind of mess and the muck that gets put on top of us as we go through, whether it's the education system, business world, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Religion, society,
relationship stuff, whatever.
Intentions to try to keep kids in conforming norms are really what get in the way of us all finding our own true path, our own magnificence. That's and right. Ironically, the thing that draws the most people in abundance to us is when you meet those people and you are that person who's shining 100% in your authenticity, giving zero fucks about what anyone thinks of you.
Thank you. Yes.
Everyone wants a piece of that action. Right. Right? So like, I want what she's having. So the irony is that in order to achieve the ultimate success, whatever that looks like, it's actually undoing all the things that we thought we needed to do to be successful. So
oh my gosh.
Kids are already there. It's just like, how little damage can we do to them along the way?
Right.
How much can we just clear out all this conditioning, all these beliefs, and just let them be who they already are? And it's everything from, I remember like the first time my oldest wore this like wild outfit to school. I used to try to control like her little outfit so they would be perfect. Right. And she put on like a purple tutu with a gold shirt and 2 different shoes. And my first instinct was like, oh, she's going to be that
parents going to think.
Burden. The parents are going to judge me because I didn't dress my kid nicely. And then, but it was such a tiny example, but of like, let them express, let them be crazy. What do I care what the other parents in the kindergarten?
And be creative. I mean, that, oh my gosh, there's so many things. And I know that everybody on here, especially the mamas, are going, yes, 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 because I know that all mamas want their babies to have the opportunity to follow the path that they're meant for. But then all of these outside influences get drawn in. I think it was Danielle Laporte. I don't know why she's on my mind so much lately, because I read her stuff all the time. But she was saying that the other day, or maybe a few years ago, she had been to her like a parent teacher night, and the teacher said, when the children are done their homework, I encourage them to go on social media so they can like use their laptops or their phones or whatever to like get connected. And she just went bonkers, right? Because she said, here we are trying to have less of that feedback, right? And in fact, the teacher is encouraging them to have that, to do that. And she said, I went ballistic, because she thought, just let them, when they're done their homework, just let them choose. Allow them to be creative and to choose whether they want to read or doodle or whatever. But the teacher was actually like directing them to do. And she was just like, we're controlling the kids, even in the environment where we're supposed to be teaching them to be creative. Like, and creativity is this.
I love that. And I think it's cutting out a bit. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
okay.
I think I was smiling because you said, I want them to connect. And I was thinking, and this is a lot of the work we do on our retreats down here, is about deep, deep connection to self, to other, to nature. And I was smiling, like, I want them to connect, so I'm going to put a screen in front of their face.
Right?
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I am a parent of 4 children. There is a time and a place for giving your kids an iPad. I am not going to vilify any, our kids get 20 minutes a day of screen time. But
that's different.
the things like no phones at the dinner table, no phones ever in a restaurant. So there is containment around it. So I don't want to vilify any parents that ever let their kids watch screen time. I get it.
No.
However, it's the kids, it's the adults, it's the everyone with the, like, I'm going to connect. So I'm going to check on to my like thousands of Facebook friends and ignore the people who are sitting across from me.
Right.
And I'm guilty of this myself. My business is largely online. And so it's like,
oh, I know. Yeah.
Put the phone down, connect with your kids, connect with your partners, connect with your friends, etc. And actually, this is such an exciting time because I think there's an awareness that we need to get back to basics, get back to eye contact. I'm big on hugging. I'm big on touching in an appropriate way as far as human contact. You know, put a hand on the shoulder of a friend, ask if it's okay to give someone a hug if they're in pain or if they're excited or any obvious boundaries. I know there's a lot of insanity in the media right now, so I'm not encouraging any of that. But
we got your vibe though. Yeah. Like just
contact. Like if you want to connect and connect, be vulnerable and the creativity, and this is full circle back to the earlier part of our conversation and how the children are our teachers, is and I'm such a believer in this, and I've seen it hundreds of times, thousands of times, whatever number of times. We have ourselves and our kids so over-programmed that we do not allow any space for boredom, for From boredom comes creativity. You give a kid 8 hours in the middle of summer with nothing to do, and I promise you that in a very short time, any kid, they will come up with some sort of obstacle course, caption, drawing exercise, make-believe game, et cetera, et cetera. And I've done that on purpose with our kids from the minute it's how I grew up, it's how Chris grew up. And it's what is that same boredom, that same creating something from nothing, and also the same honoring of the children's creativity, their individuality, their originality, are the same instincts, the same neural pathways that has that kid at 19, 20, 21 think, oh, I have an idea for a business, or, this whole internet, this was Chris, my partner, he was 19 and he was bored at university, but he grew up being bored. And so what he did was he created an internet company when he was 19. And then our daughter, Ray,
I'm just going to build an internet company.
I'm going to do.
Oh, you're cutting out. Oh, no.
We don't allow for boredom, space for creativity. And so, and the same with, I have to go full circle because it's a funny story. My daughter, my oldest daughter, Rain, and I could tell you stories about every one of them, but the fashion one who was wearing the crazy wild outfits at 5, and I was mortified because she was my first daughter, and I wanted to put, Allison Schaefer says, just suck it up and put a sticker if you have to that says, I dressed myself today on your kid. Right. So like mom guilt is out the window. You're not worried about being judged because at the time I cared. Now I care less. If my kids go to school naked, I'm like, whatever. Perfect. But, go. Like, get a sticker for your kid that says, I dress myself, so your mom guilt can go away. Right. But same kid who refused to the point of like standoff battles in the mornings of me saying, wear the matching outfit, and her saying, no, I will not wear the matching outfit. At 10 or 11 asked me if she could take sewing lessons and has developed a real passion for fashion and is now working with a woman locally. This is another miracle. A friend I met randomly who happened to have spent the last 20 years in fashion in Hong Kong, Paris, London. And so Rain is now apprenticing under her.
That's amazing.
And into pattern making and old school sewing.
Yeah.
So this is an example where kids will, and we're down here and they're not super scheduled. They're not hyper programmed. Right. And now she's asked me for that kind of support of her passion, of her interest. I would never have signed up for sewing lessons. I've never sewed a thing in my entire life. Right. But that's where I had to let go of what I thought she should do, her ballet lessons or her gymnastics or whatever, all the things I had, the agenda I had for her, and be humble enough to just shut up and wait and have her ask me what she's passionate about, where any of these kids' passions are going to end up. But my guess is the more we nurture our kids when they're young, honor their passions, honor their individuality, enable them with our resources, not to do what we think they should do, but to support them as appropriate and as possible in their own passions. I believe that's what's going to have those kids create disruptive companies, disruptive businesses, disruptive causes, whatever it is that they take a stand for in the world, they feel empowered to speak, create, and to do. So I think it's really massively 100%. Important.
Yes.
Learning from.
And we're talking about boredom because I know this word's come up a few times, and I want to say it's like an incubation period for genius, because when we say we're bored, it just means that we don't have our hands on anything at the moment. But I remember as a child, I mean, I grew up in Northern Ontario, just like yourself, and it was very much like, oh, you're bored, go outside. And then exactly like you said, in 5 minutes, I was no longer bored. We have to allow even adults. I mean, adults are the worst. We eat dinner and then boom, TV. Like I don't watch TV ever anymore, because what I realized was it was just, and I don't have any problem with people watching TV. Please don't. That's not what I'm trying to say. But for me, because I'm an avid reader, I found that I wasn't reading anymore. And so I stopped engaging in TV a long time ago. But now I actually enjoy my, what we call boredom, which would be me not working, me not having something scheduled, me not having any commitment to anybody else but me. And I can sit in boredom, or whatever we want to call it, incubation, thought, for hours, doing absolutely nothing. And in that time are some of my most prolific, awakenings around my work, around my relationships, around my family, whatever drops. Yes. But we have to allow ourselves to get comfy being bored. And I think boredom, that word has such a negative connotation, but really we're just in thought, people. Like we're just allowing our brains some time to process all the stuff. Like we've got a lifetime. Yeah. Even your children have a lifetime full of stuff to process. Yes.
Right? And it never ends. And it's the constant input. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. So instead of boredom, it's stillness. What if we talk about stillness, spacious?
Exactly.
Spacious. Yeah. And the things we haven't really, I want to just underline it again and again, is the idea of nature. You said I used to go outside. I also used to go outside. That's one major reason why I live in Costa Rica and Northern Ontario in the other part of the year, the summer, is because of the deep connection to nature, the inspiration. And so I've observed that a lot of my clients, myself, I was this way, very, very much this way. Part of the reason we're running and grinding, which is my least favorite word lately, is like, I'm grinding. I'm like, you are, just see where that ends up on an indefinite path. It's okay to hustle. It's okay to push at times. But with the exhale, you also need to take the inhale. Right. If you're constantly just pushing and driving, and I'm saying this 100% from experience.
Yes.
That is that's the direct route to burnout.
Yeah. And unhappiness and joylessness.
Overwhelm. To throw the whole thing out. So when we are doing that pattern, for myself, and I've seen this is not even controversial for me to even say this out loud. Often we cannot be in stillness with ourselves because we haven't yet cleared out some of the inner work that needs to be done. Right. So you find that you say, I can't sit still. I'm a mover. I'm this person. I'm a mover. I can't sit still. I said that for years. My worst part of yoga was the Shavasana at the end when you had to lie down. I was like, dear God, don't make me lie here for more than a minute.
That's my favorite part.
Now I'm like, give me 2 hours of that. And I'm so happy. The reason is that I was running from my own, and we haven't even gotten into that, but there's always work to do. Shadow work, clearing work, whatever it is, the healing side of things is part of the reason why we frenetically run, because we can't be with ourselves. We're unable yet to be with the stuff, all the stuff. And so it is the path of the warrior. I say this all the time. It is no joke to slow down, to look at yourself in the mirror, to feel the feelings. It can be hard. It can be painful. So I do not see this lightly. It is the path of the warrior. That's why we have tribe. That's why we have coaches and healers and teachers and yoga and movement and everything. But ultimately, if you go through the feels, all the stuff, is again through the stillness, which can feel like chaos at the time, but that is the only route to freedom and to connection and to this highest level of bliss and joy. So it's a bit of a process, and it starts with self-awareness. So I would just invite anybody listening to just notice and observe, and not to judge and not to make anybody right or wrong. It's just like, if you are that person who's like, I can't sit still, I have no interest in sitting still, just be curious about that and be like, interesting.
Why?
And I recommend just starting with, not to judge, not to this, just to start with what if I could sit still? And I literally did this 3 years ago. Can I sit still for 3 minutes? I set a timer. I'm not even joking. This was only 3 years ago. 3 minutes. Can I sit still for 3 minutes? Meditation. I was like, it was so hard. And then the next day I did 3.5 minutes. And then I did 4 minutes. And so just it's you have to really train those muscles of
oh my gosh, yes,
of stillness, of spaciousness.
yes.
And we can talk about it all day long, but you have to experience it. Have a journal close by as well, because in that 3 minutes, you might be like, oh shit, that thing I thought I already dealt with about that thing that happened years ago just came up again. And
right.
So journal out, write it out, clear it. And as soon as it's out of your brain, it's out of your body, be like, hey, that's piece of that energy that was in me is out now. And just do over. And if you have to do it 10,000 times, then do it 10,001 times.
Right.
It's like,
I think
that's it.
I think that, finding a place, like for me, that's where my awakening kind of happened, was in Tulum, where I actually found a place where I could find stillness and find peace and find, an environment that really nurtured me. And I think what happens often is that we don't remove ourselves from our day to day, or from all of from our normal environment. And I had to extract myself from my normal environment so that I could actually, this was just me personally. Maybe not everybody has to do that. Some people can sit in chaos and be like, oh, that is not me. Because then I'm such a, so I had to actually remove myself from chaos and go and be by myself there, which, being by myself was a huge thing, especially traveling. And all of a sudden I thought, I actually kind of like me, but I had to spend a lot of time alone and quiet. And so, it's such a valuable practice to invest time in yourself. Just time,
This is another 2-hour conversation we could have, but I was so inspired as a teenager. I read A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, and it's
oh my gosh,
just stuck with me forever. And I've actually recently become really clear on the importance of space, and it can be literal space, like a little nook, an altar. I'm building myself my own palace, basically, and in our new home is like a 1-room separate building that is by invitation only. I'm not calling it an office because I'm doing everything is going to happen in there.
Great idea.
First time in my entire adult life, I want to have my own physical space, because I've always worked from home, and I think a lot of women specifically can relate to this. So my office was like a corner of the playroom, or it was like my stuff under the bed of the bedroom that I would pull out when I had clients, or because I wanted to be able to manage it all. And then being in healing professions and in serving others, a lot of us are empaths, and most of us who are in these types of fields. And so the mental emotional space is also always being filled with serving and with other people's needs. And so it's mission critical, especially for women, but for everyone, to get away from it all. And it can be as simple as getting up a half an hour earlier than the rest of everybody to go for some sacred quiet time. But I actually I went to Bali for a month 3 years ago because my soul again was screaming at me. I was myself for a month, and it was insane to do that. You've heard me tell this story.
I remember that. Yeah, that's a great story.
I went and I cried for the entire month. I didn't even know what I was crying about, but I just was releasing. So it's like cry the tears, feel the feels, do the things. And it was the greatest gift I could have given to the entire universe, to my kids, to my partner, to myself, because I came back and I felt replenished for the first time. And we can talk all day long about that.
I know.
To fill ourselves up first.
Yes.
Critical. It is not selfish. If you're serving from a place of depletion, coming from the highest vibration, and you will very quickly get into these dynamics of feeling like a victim eventually, and then being pissed off at the world because nobody understands you.
Right.
Into these very unhealthy spirals. I am radically committed to self-care, and if I give everybody nothing else today, it will be to unapologetically fill yourselves up first. If that looks like being in nature, sex, food, chocolate, reading, bubble baths.
All of the above.
All of it first. And my self-care is I have 3 hours a day of self-care that I do before everything else. It includes movement, it includes surfing, it includes yoga, it includes meditation. I mix it up. It includes a ritual with a latte and a biscotti that's a 5-minute.
I know, I love that.
But I am so clear that I am of highest service to others when I am coming from a place of joy, of expansion, of gratitude. I'm so grateful to be serving my kids. I'm not like, oh, you again. Oh God, you again.
Right.
And I have help. I've got people helping me around the house. I've got my partner is helping me with things that he didn't used to help me with, because I learned that I need to receive, I need to take care of myself. And so it's refinement, and it can be scary to change those old patterns, but it's critical to put ourselves first.
Mission critical.
First, so that we can then serve from that place of overflow, of joy, and of gratitude. That's everything.
Oh my gosh. I love first mission critical, like amazing, like new hashtag, because it's true. And I feel like divine feminine leadership, like there's so many women out there right now. And this is so exciting to watch. And I know you're watching it too. All these women are rising up and stepping into leadership roles that were meant for them, right? I mean, women are natural leaders. And so it's so beautiful to watch that happen. But women are also having children and, running homes and families and careers and all of this other stuff. And I do believe it's mission critical. And I know that you and I both put on retreats that allows people to check out, disconnect with others so they can connect with self and get quiet. And one of the greatest, resistances or challenges that come up when people say, I really want to go to your retreat, but I've got this and that and this and that. And I always say, that's exactly why you need it. Like, can we just talk for a moment about everything that you just said? Like, imagine 1 week without that. And they just go, I can't. They can't even imagine it. And then they go, and then they think, I need to do this every single year. Like, a year isn't enough, but I know that not everybody can get away more than that. But if you can do 1 full week of disconnect to reconnect, holy cow, like the impact of that at every level, from personal to global, is so massive.
Couldn't agree more with you. And I had the same experience with Bali. I almost canceled.
Right.
It was not a cool move for me at the time. And I always say to people, getting to the retreat is hands down the hardest part of the whole thing. But once you get there, and I've seen this every single time, that you realize mission critical. And I, like you, I have 2 to 3 at least times a year that I'm committed to getting away by myself, nobody else. And I go and I fill myself back up. And then I have a number of other things where I'm serving, like Bliss and other places, my own retreats. But I have at least twice a year, if not more, mandatory times where I go and receive and fill myself up. And I just saw Leah made a comment that she's now able to sit in stillness in the chaos. And that is the ultimate goal. Right. What my experience was, and what I have observed though, is when our nervous systems are so overloaded, as pretty much everyone's is in North America or in any Western society, and you don't even know until you step away from it, until you get into nature, until you go on a retreat, get into stillness. It's like you have to hit reset on a computer, because if you're in the chaos and you're taking on all the energy and you're getting the noise and the traffic and the kids and the work and the this and the this, your nervous system just gets into overload mode. Right. And it's like the retreat or the getaways or whatever it is that works for you. And I used to do a yoga class. I'm not an hour a day, sure. But sometimes after years and years and years and years of serving, of giving, and of taking on all the energy, you need to hit reset. You need to get away. In a big way. In a big way. Not enough. Because then in your brain, you're thinking, I got to go get the groceries, to get the thing, to do the dinner party, to do whatever. Right. And then once you get yourself back recalibrated, I believe, develop these. So you need to kind of like clean house in a way. You need to reboot the whole system. Right. And that's for me what these retreats for myself are, and what I offer to others. And then you can start to develop from a clear space a daily practice that can keep you quiet in the chaos, can keep you grounded no matter what's going on around you. But if you're already at a 12 out of 10 for overstimulation and stress and overwhelm, the tiniest thing is just going to ignite. Blow your mind. Yeah. Versus if you hit reset. So I hit reset sort of at least twice a year in a major way, as in I'm away for 4 or 5 days by myself, maybe even on the other side of the world if I can, because I love to travel. But every single day you have to reset. So in the morning practice, it's the breath at lunchtime, whatever it is. But the reset is really, really important. So there's the micro reset, and then there's the macro reset. That's kind of where we do the micro resets to keep our day in alignment and to keep ourselves, and you can reset. I was just having this conversation yesterday. You can reset 1 million times in a day. If your day starts off well and gets really bad, reset. You don't have to stay there and go, well, my day was just ruined. I used to be that person. My whole day's been ruined because so-and-so said this. Okay, wait a minute. And now, thank goodness, I
I can just do a micro reset like a million times a day if I need. But then the macro resets are huge and impactful. And that's where some of the greatest downloads happen, right? And it's great to travel. It is great to travel, but travel by yourself. I love that you do that too, because I'm now so comfortable traveling by myself. I wasn't at first, and I don't even know what I was scared of. But now travel by myself is like opportunity to connect with all of these humans, and then if I don't want to connect with anybody, I don't have to, but I get to choose how that whole week goes. And it's such it's a gift. And yeah. I don't have children and you have 4. So we're like day and night. But I know that there are mamas on this conversation that need to hear you, Lindsay. Can you please tell them one really powerful thing to remember when they're trying to make a decision, whether I'm going to go to Lindsay's retreat or not? Like, what can be the deciding factor that you would say to a mama?
Oh, this is so important. I'll tell you my deciding factor.
Okay.
When I was on the verge, I was going to Bali to do a yoga teacher training, which made no financial sense, no career. Like I didn't even want to be.
Money's another issue. Yeah.
I didn't even want to be a yoga teacher. We were in the middle of an insane startup time. We had no money. Our bank accounts were depleted. Everything was maxed out. We had no money, cash flow. We were in this startup mode of like everything could have eventually gone to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And I had 4 little kids under 9. But it made 0 sense for me to go in any way, logistically, financially, anything.
Right.
And the logic was absolutely not there. However, my soul was screaming at me. And I remember I was crying and crying because I was like, I have to go, but I can't go. I need to go, but I shouldn't go. And I was doing this insane kind of back and forthing thing. And I had this moment where I asked myself, I have 3 daughters. What advice would I give to one of my daughters if she came to me at my age and said, Mom, I'm on the brink. I'm like really depleted. I'm feeling numbness. I'm feeling nothingness towards my kids, towards my life, which is my experience. What advice would I give to her? And I knew without a doubt that I would say, baby, you go. You get on that plane. And you go do you. You go fill yourself up.
You just gave me goosebumps. That's amazing.
That's what I thought. What advice would I give to one of my 3 girls and the son? And who knows who he's going to end up with, but whatever women in his life or himself included, what advice would what kind of support would I want him to give to a woman in his life who was feeling the same way? And what I know about parenting is that it has nothing to do with what we say. They're watching what we do. So show, don't tell. Don't tell your kids, follow your dreams, take care of yourself. I just want you to be happy when you're feeling depleted and you're selling out dreams and you're exhausted and you're burnt out and you're
oh my gosh, yes,
all of your soul stuff in the back trunk of the back basement.
Right.
Because guess what? They're going to learn exactly what you did.
Yeah.
So I want to be the example for the reality that I dream for my daughters, and my sacrifice and my becoming a shell of a woman is going to do nothing other than model what becoming a shell of a woman is for my children. And I want my kids to be full of life and full of passion and following their bliss. And that's what the most important thing for me, and to be of deepest service to the world from that place. And I knew in that moment that the advice that I would give to my daughters and to my son had to be what I did.
Right.
My key takeaway is just ask yourself, what advice would you give to your own children or a dear friend or a sister or a brother? And then just follow your own advice, because we're so kinder to others and we want everything for our loved ones, but we don't give ourselves that same amount of love and compassion. So that's what I would wish for.
Gosh. Yes, 100%. And that's what we're kind of coming full circle, because earlier when I was saying, you guys are modeling, you and Chris are modeling this incredible way of not just living, but being and doing, like living. This is you have a choice to do this, or you also have a choice to do this. And you're showing them the other, the kind of the road less traveled and all of the things it can bring. And that's so important. So I love that you said that. And, your soul whispers and then eventually it screams. And we both know that manifests in a lot of ugly ways if we don't listen. It can get illness and disease and divorce and financial blowout and relationship blowout, when we could really just be avoiding the worst case scenario by really listening in and saying, yeah, this is going to cost me a few $1,000s, but I've spent that in wine over the year, #truth. And I need Yeah, right? Like, and I need this. So I'm going to sacrifice a few things so that I can get myself there, so that I can do the trip solo or the backpack or whatever it is that calls you.
Yes.
You know, and I have a feeling, okay, go ahead.
I just want to underline what you said. It's crazy because it's counterintuitive. We think that if I invest a few $1,000s on myself, I'm going to deplete my bank accounts. It's going to cost. The truth is, and you know this, is that when we get into this spaciousness, you've already said it several times, that's when the big ideas come. Right. That's when the like connection for the next collaboration comes. So it ultimately that's when you go back and you're a much kinder partner, or you're a much better parent, or you're a much more vital leader in your community. So you actually, by spending that investment of time, of money, of energy, it actually becomes a direct route to greater abundance and success. And it's counterintuitive because you think you're taking away from people, you're taking away from time, and I'm not going to be there for my clients. Or the truth is, that's when the big book idea comes. That's where it comes. It's not in the insanity of the chaos. And again, I love what you just said, because how much money do we spend on purses, shoes, wine, movies,
lattes at Starbucks, whatever, right?
Divorce, or like, how expensive is a divorce? Like, you know, I don't know, pretty expensive, I think, you know. Mental breakdowns, like how expensive, health breakdowns. How much is your health worth to you? How much is mentality worth to you? Start putting a price tag on those things. Those are the big questions.
Yeah, 100%. And all those things. I mean, yes, and yes. Now, I know I can't believe it's already been an hour. We didn't even, I sent her this list of questions, and we haven't talked about any of them except the children. But obviously, whatever's coming up is what we need to talk about. And I fully believe that. But I want to talk for 1 minute before we go about how all of this relates to your whole idea of being a unicorn and following your path. I know you're going to get really excited about this. Get ready for it. But how does all of this represent everything that you stand for?
This is the path of the unicorn, what we've been talking about. So you didn't know maybe, but we were weaving the path as we were going.
Oh, no, I saw it.
So for me, what I'm obsessed with now is, okay, so you won the game. You played by the rules. You got to a certain point in life. Now what? It's like, be careful what you wish for. So we experienced this in our lives. We set all these goals early in our lives, and we reached them. You know, we did the startups, we had the kids, we got the house, we did the this, we did the that. And this is where I woke up 3 years ago, and I was completely depleted. And we're at an awards ceremony. Chris has been very successful in the tech startup space, and they were awarding an award in Canada for unicorn business, which is a business. Some of the other companies that were there, Chris was winning a different award, but a business that was valued at over $1 billion was considered a unicorn because it was rare and it was mythological. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. If that's the equivalent of a unicorn business, I thought, what is the equivalent of a unicorn human or leader? And I was like, is it a valuation of money? And I'm like, no. I've worked with some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the country, in the world, even as far as in my coaching career. And I can tell you that a lot of them are not happy.
Not unicorns,
So money is not the answer. It may be part of it, but it's not the only answer. And I started to think about what is the ultimate version of success. And that's where I really got back to an integrated version of success. It's the doing and the being. It's the creating value, doing your work in the world, having deeply connected relationships, being healthy, being vital, having the time of your life while you're doing it. And it takes a lot of refinement, of risk-taking. Often it takes glazing an entire. It's leading with purpose, that you're giving back at the same time, having deep passion for what you're doing in your work, outside of your work. And so the path of the unicorn, you talk about the feminine divine, is really that integration of the masculine divine and the feminine divine, the doing and the being, the giving and the receiving, the contributing and the playing. And so, and I believe, and I've observed in my own life and in the lives of all the clients that I've been working with over the years, that ultimately, that positive spiral of listening, of tapping into intuition, of tapping into greater guidance, and then taking inspired action from there. It's not that you sit around and meditate.
Not just action, inspired action.
Inspired action.
Yes,
this is the thing.
Different.
The stillness comes first. The quiet comes first. From the stillness, from the quiet, we get the big ideas, we get the big insights.
Right.
We get maybe some butterflies and some nervousness because we're like, uh-oh, this is bigger than I thought.
So
that's
fun.
when we get into action.
Right.
And the more we can get on this path of spirals, like the unicorn, the horn of the unicorn, we spiral up and up and up. And that's when quantum leaps in abundance, in business ideas, in relationships, in community, in where in the world you want to live and how you want to live. It's next level success, abundance. And it's actually so much calmer and in a way easier than the grind because you're listening, you're in flow, you're going with the forces of what's being called of you instead of trying to force something like a bull in a china shop. And so the irony is that as we transcend the grind and we move beyond the grind, we root back into the primal, simple patterns of nature, stillness, listening, community, connection, play, love, passion, whatever. We get successful according to everyone's definitions. So that's the path of the unicorn.
Okay, if there's anybody in here that doesn't think that sounds delicious, then I don't know. I don't know if we're for you, but no. But it's so amazing because there was a time when I was doing the grind and when I was pushing, and I know you were too. And to think back about that time in my life, it was kind of a blur, an energetic blur. And one of the things that I have recognized as I have chosen to live a different kind of a life and to be way more connected and to just really follow my intuition and have fun and play and all that is that my relationships have just the people that, and I know that you probably agree that the relationships that you nurture, the relationships that come to you are so valuable. And those relationships fill you up because you're actually focused in on them. I mean, I had all these people around me, but I didn't see them. I didn't love them. I didn't give them. I'm sure I was not a very good friend, and relationships to me are everything because when you have a relationship, then you have so much, right? Yes. It's just so fulfilling. And so when you're on that path, building those relationships with like-minded people who really see the beauty and the value in living that way is so important. And then, you get it back too. When you really are feeling like you need to be inspired, which is why I want to bring you onto this, because I know that you inspire people daily. Then you can tap into those people. You go, oh yeah, it can be done. And oh yeah, there are people who think like me or are doing what I want to do. And I see that they're surviving and they're thriving.
Yes, right? Exactly. And that's where people think, this is where the disconnect comes. People think there's a belief that you have to work hard and it has to be a struggle in order to have success. And it's again what I said earlier. First of all, I believe you've just nailed the entire purpose of being alive. I think that sense of community, of tribe, of relationship, when you peel back everything, is the core need and desire for most humans. And so that in and of itself gets lost in the shuffle. But the second thing that is so miraculous is, and this is the beautiful paradox that I love, is as you let go of attachment to like, I need to network, I need to get something from some people, and you just, this is the path of the unicorn, you just receive the beauty. So it's the feminine divine is like art and music and dance and sex. There's no point to it. You're not trying to get somewhere. You're just enjoying a piece of art. You're just listening to a beautiful piece of music. You're just engaging in a beautiful connection with another human in a relationship. But what ends up happening is that you have these deep soul connections, and then the natural collaborations and I have this mantra, they come to me, because I have this insane constant experience where I just put my love out in the world. And when somebody's in front of me or the social media post comes to my head and needs to go out, I'm just like, may it be a benefit. I love you. Here's my love. Here's my love. And I don't do it with any expectation of anything in return.
Right.
However, what keeps happening time and time again is I get random, crazy invitations to up-level my this one is a beautiful example of I've been in contact with you. I adore you. We've had some beautiful connections. I never had an agenda for my relationship.
Right.
But then out of the blue, you get the invitation to speak on the podcast or to teach at the event or to, I have a book editor for you, and so these offers of karma, of love, of generosity, a million times greater than what I've even put out in the world. And so again, it's the irony of the the less of an agenda we have, the less we're trying to force things, and the more we just stay in the presence and the beauty of connection, of the joy, of the bliss, the more successful in every single way we ultimately become.
There it is.
Yeah.
100% beautiful. I love all of this. I just looked at the time. It's 1:15. You guys, we're just jamming out. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and for being here and hanging tight with us and being part of the conversation. I want to just acknowledge some people for a minute. So I'm going to say hi to some of our peeps. Lots of familiar names: Shelly, Jordan, Adrian, Tara, Lori, Lala. Let me see here. Lisa, we got a few Lisas. Hi, Lisa, Suzanne, Nolan. Thank you for posting that link. I'm sure it's Leah Parsons, incredible human being, my brother Royals, and so many other people that we can't see. So thank you all for being here. And Lindsay, I want to thank you so much for taking time in your day and sharing your wisdom and your genius with us and your light. And I am one of the people that receives your love all the time. I follow you and your incredible family and all the things that you guys are doing in Costa Rica and the work that you're doing in the world on a larger scale. Like, you truly are one of those people that walks the walk. And that, I honor that. And that is so much, you have so much integrity. And for me, that's so valuable, is being able to connect with somebody who has integrity and really talks about it, but then actually lives it so large. So thank you so much for being here with us. And I'm so excited about all the things. I know that you've got is it a leadership training called The Path of the Unicorn? Is that exactly what that is? And where can people find you?
So I'm at aliveandawake.com, and okay. I have some retreats, 2 retreats this year coming up. And I have Path of the Unicorn is a mastermind coaching program that people can sign up for. And and then I'm completing my book right now. So the next major project is to get my book done, and then it's going to be a screenplay. So you guys can all come out and read the book, watch the movie when it comes out. But this year, you can follow me at Lindsay Sukornyk on Instagram and on Facebook, or at Alive and Awake, and aliveandawake.com is my website. And I would love to hear from everybody and send everybody so much love. And Marlo, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, being such a light in my life. I always love our connection, and you inspire me all the time. So thank you so much for having me. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you too. Have an incredible day, and be safe and be happy, everybody, and have an incredible, incredible holiday season. And we will see you tomorrow for the 12 Days of Divine Inspiration. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.